Greetings traders, this is Houston Trong from thetradingedge.org, and here is your weekly market outlook for June the 22nd to the 26th, 2020. So we arrive at the final trading week of the month and the final trading week of the quarter, and barring something catastrophic, it appears we're going to close with a pretty strong June and a pretty strong Q2. So we'll get to the charts in a few moments, but as I alluded to already, there's a very low probability that this coming week the sellers are going to be able to mount any kind of comeback and really pull price in to change what has already been a historic quarter and month. So this next week we can expect some volatility, continued volatility, but in the grand scheme of things, we're probably not going to see a larger reversal occur at least until the beginning of Q3, just in terms of the way the charts are setting up. So let's talk about the week coming up in terms of the Econ Calendar, and then we'll get to those charts. So in terms of the Econ Calendar, existing home sales on Monday at 10 a.m. Then we've got that PMI number, so we want to see that on Tuesday, see how that's faring. Then on Thursday we have a busy news day. We got, of course, the GDP number 8:30, as well as 8:30 we have that jobs claims. So definitely watch out on Wednesday, if you're taking overnight positions in to Thursday morning, because you're going to have a lot of volatility that Thursday morning. So far that jobs claims number has been a number the markets have been reacting to quite strongly. So if you're entering into your trades late, so let's say you're buying on let's say Wednesday afternoon, if you put your stops too tight, then you can expect to get stopped out on that pre-market data. And then Friday we have that personal income outlays number at 8:30. That'll also be interesting to watch. But definitely Thursday, that GDP number and that jobs claims number, definitely put that on your calendar. No major names reporting in terms of earnings this coming week. Again, just maybe half a dozen names reporting each day, maybe a dozen names. We got BlackBerry, which is a high beta name, on Wednesday. That'll be interesting to watch. Kind of been a slow story there, but they are a Canadian company, so fun to watch. Nike on Thursday. Let's see if people are still buying Nike shoes. And then Friday we have Wuba, which is interesting to watch, and maybe just a few other names. So nothing much to report on the earnings front. So let's jump to the charts now, talk about the week that was, and then get into the coming week. What can we expect for the final trading week of the month and quarter? So let's begin with what we know. All right. So far the month looks like this on the VIX. So we'll go through the VIX SPY quite carefully, and then we'll fast forward the rest, as the rest of the charts in terms of the indices look very similar, just because the correlations are very high once again. So far we had a bit of a scare going into the month of June, because at one point when we were inside bar and down, and we broke down again. So we had 2 down months here, but then price, we did flash right back up again shortly. It did come out the other side, creating this outside bar in the monthly chart. So you have a inside down and up outside bar on the VIX on the monthly chart. Again, still 1 week left, so this bar is not closed yet. But we do need to understand that going into July, and we'll talk more about this next week, these ranges, like the ranges in June here, will be important to watch. But because the month's not closed yet, there's nothing to refer to there. On the weekly chart, I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way. Even though we had a slightly volatile week in the markets, pretty much inside week. It's inside the prior week's range, just because we had that big move last week. Price, VIX was up 30+% that week. So this week here, we basically faded most of the week. We had a bit of volatility there, here back and forth, but for the most part, VIX basically came back in again as the volatility began to leave the market once again. So here is what we wanted to watch for, and this is always an interesting pattern to watch, right? So you have this situation here. So on last Thursday, we had that big pop on the VIX, plus 33%. Friday, it actually had come up even higher. It took out that 43 area we talked about before, right? It was a 43 area that we'd been watching here. I think it was around there. Yeah, here, that 43, that pivot right there. It took that out on that day. And then the question was, going into this week, was it going to be able to do the Bollinger Band walk? Because you were closing, you did not close above the Bollinger Bands, but price had not reversed yet, right? So price in this on Monday did reverse. So it opened up high, right? So it actually gapped up. So if we closed on Friday there, it gapped up, And this is what you always want to watch for, because I always allude to it every single week. It's where does price trade in relation to the weekly open? So on Monday, you know, where that price opens, that weekly open is very, very important, because how do you trade in relation to that open for the rest of the week? If you open up high and then you fade down, that means, you know, you open at elevated levels and you cannot keep that level. And so at that point there, you have a natural ceiling for the rest of the week. That's what I mean by opening up high and then giving it up. Now you have basically a red week no matter what you do, unless you can reclaim that level. Because folks looking at the weekly chart, that's the wrong quadrant. Let's go back here. This is going to look like a red bar. This weekly chart is going to look red unless you're able to break above where it opened up at. And that's usually a pretty tall order, because all of a sudden now you have natural sellers who are coming in because you're below that weekly open. Because everyone who looks on that, you know, most people who look at that weekly chart, they're going to see a red bar. So they're not going to be inclined to buy. And if they are inclined to buy, they're going to buy on a big dip. They're not going to be buying, you know, at the highs of that bar. So, you know, in terms of that, you have a natural level of resistance there, natural sellers. You'll see why in a few moments, you know, just how important these opening levels are as we refer to some of these other charts. So basically here, this bar took out that bar's low. So that, you know, that's basically negated the chance of the VIX doing a Bollinger Band walk, because you had a price reversal, breaking below that. And then, you know, just slow fade. Most of the week was, you know, green days here for the VIX, red day there. And on Friday, had a bit of a scare. Again, it's hard to say if it was anything meaningful or not, because it was quadruple witching this past Friday. And so again, it could have just been the machinations of the market as people are closing out their futures and options positions, or rolling them out. So inside bar down, then the Friday gives us an outside bar, so it took out that. So at this point here, for the coming week, you want to be watching and seeing which side of price does this bar, and does it break on this bar. So we want to be watching that, because you want to know, does it go Momo up, Momo down, or stay inside. If you recall last week, things looked very, very bearish. Well, you know, it depends if you haven't been watching these videos, then things look very bearish. If you're watching these videos, then you know the approach is to take a step back, wait and see what that next bar is going to be, because the outside bar last week on many indices was not indicative of anything. In fact, what you saw this week here was that, all right, they faded the gap down, right? So VIX gapped up and they faded that. The SPYs gapped down and they bought it back. And so let's talk about that now. So we now know on the VIX we need to watch for this range here. So I want to redo this range. Number one, it was an inside week, so we definitely want to see how that inside week breaks. If it goes inside week down, it's going to come back down again. This is going to be lower highs, right? So there's a high, lower high, and if it breaks down below here, that's going to be another pivot high right there. Swing high, it's going to go down. Okay, so VIX volatility could slowly be seeping out here. We shall see. And here on the lower time frame, on the daily, once again we want to be looking at this outside bar. Okay, in what direction does price break this outside bar? Does it go Momo up by going outside bar up, or Momo down, outside bar down? Okay. One final thing to look at here for the 2-day chart, we got that inside bar here now. So that outside, so that confirms, you know, you have kind of a confluence of things. You got that outside bar on the inside on the daily chart, and you have the inside bar on the 2-day chart. So you definitely want to see how that breaks that range. That's how tight it's been, right? So even though you have a bit of volatility, like I was saying, there's a bit of volatility there because you have green, red, you know, and an outside day. It looks kind of scary. The reality is that it's that, right? The reality is that you're trading, except for this day here, you know, this is probably a Friday, Monday bar. It's a 2-day chart, by the way, right? You're trading inside this mother bar, right? All this action here is sitting inside of this. So price is consolidating in here. So now you want to see which way it breaks. And just based upon what we understand about price, we have a bit of mixed time frames here now. So this is why it gets a little choppy, because here, I'll just show you the daily chart again. This is what happens. We talk about the price being sandwiched or having mixed time frames. You got the quarterly open there, right? So it's a red quarter on the VIX. It was a red week, right? You're below the purple line, but you're above the orange line. So that's your week. It's your monthly open. So you have these mixed time frames, and this causes this kind of, you know, this chop as you have market participants who are not in agreement with the trend of price, with the price trends. So right now we really ideally want to see you know, for smooth price action, you want to see it break below this level here, that monthly open, because if it breaks below there, then it's going to be a red week or a red quarter or a red month, and that makes it super simple. You just, you know, your bias is just short, right? But for now, it's a little trickier because you have mixed time frames, and you can expect this kind of stuff, especially if you open up high once again. Let's you open up here, all right, and all of a sudden he comes back in, and once again you get another week of chop. It's going to tick 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 tick. It's going to even get tighter. It's going to get even tighter. It will still be inside this big bar here, all right? So something to watch for. On the 4-hour chart, we have a bit of momentum already to the upside, but as we well know, this thing could fade very quickly. So look at that range, right? That's the top end, that's the bottom end, that's how tight it's been, right? That's the blue lines, that's the 2-day chart, that's also that outside bar. So here, if it breaks back below there, you come back to the range again to take out that level, and then that purple line is your weekly low, and that will cause, you know, the break to the downside. So this is looking very interesting here now. If you break below that level right there, then they're going to go after that. That will trigger the outside bar to the downside, which will then trigger the week. So it's a very, very simple, you know, domino effect. Boom, 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 right? Those 3 levels, if they break, that should trigger the inside week to the downside. The trick here on Monday is going to be if it gaps. If it gaps down like that, then what we've seen in the past is that you never want to be chasing gaps. Chase gaps and they will reverse against you. So this week when we gapped down on the indices, selling that gap was a really bad idea because you were chasing. You know, you're a Momo chaser, right? So you had the FOMO. If you did that, anyone who sold those breakdowns this past week, they got stopped out. They got stuck in that bear trap. So let's talk about that now. So let's go to SPY, and then we'll talk a little bit detail about SPY, and then we'll fast forward as I said before. So SPY, inside, up, right? So here we still got that brown information that's still acting as resistance. It's doing its thing. It's holding back price right now, but you're definitely you broke above that level, and it's a continuation of this inside bar break to the upside. Can we get to those all-time highs on the SPY? That's the question. Okay, so now here is the weekly chart. Remember last week it looked like this, all right? So you know, people were all concerned, oh my goodness, it's an outside bar, you know, maybe end of the world, you know, the coronavirus is coming back for a second wave, yada yada yada. And the reality is that that one bar is not indicative of anything, because that can happen, right? And now it's not so bad looking anymore, is it? Looks like it just bounced off some moving averages, maybe some prior levels, like this prior level here, right? That purple line. And now what we know about price is, oops, I didn't mean to move that. What we know about price is this. So last week it did that, right? So it broke that level. If it can now break above this week's high, that's a reversal. Okay, so then that reversal will immediately put that pivot into play, and that would be the area to go after very aggressively. If it breaks above here on Monday or sometime this week, you're going to take out that level. They're going to go after that level. That's what you'd want to be gunning for. Okay, so you'd be using the lower time frames to gun for that level. So here's what happened on SPY on the daily chart. And this is what I mean by the bear trap. So right here, recall what I talked about last week. Or last week I said, you know, this looks like simply a buyable dip, right? So even though this looked aggressive, it was down minus 5.76%. It was a gap down, and it kept running. As I said last week, you know, refer to last week's video, we're basically testing the monthly open right there. We still have the 20-day, and look, we had the 50-day moving average right there, and there's your 200-day moving average right there. And I said this is a very good level to test, because it was basically a breakout of that. See that orange line there? It was that inside bar break to the upside. So, you know, if they can come back in there, that would be a great area to buy. People are looking to buy, and they came close. Look, see that orange lines right there? Came within, you know, maybe if what's the low here? 296.74, so a couple bucks. So it did not go any further. Did not break below the 50-day. So a lot of folks, you know, that's as close as it got to getting down there to test that break. Now that green line there indicates there was a gap there, prior gap there here. So that gap there, 297.12. Yeah, so that one did get taken out. All right, so that gap there, they retested that gap. So that one held. Well, that area is an area that was interesting, and they popped it back up. And then the rest of the week it kind of faded back a bit, once again doing the outside bar, the reverse. So here's what's notable though this past week. Anytime you gap down, or anytime you have large gaps, you want to see if the gaps fade or not. Because this was a decent gap down, not a large one, it was like maybe 1%, but they immediately bought it back. So anyone who got short on Monday, so you opened up here, right? You closed there, right? So from here to there, that's where's your gap down. Now, some people actually shorted that, right? They shorted it and immediately they got spanked, and they bought it right back again, causing, this is, basically like a red dog reversal or a gap reversal, and it takes out the other side. All right, it did the opposite on Friday. On Friday, it gaps up, and this is, for bulls, it does everything they could have asked for, but they didn't have enough buying power strength to hold the day. So as soon as the gap comes back into here, right? So this gap's up here, it comes into there. There's always the chance that the possibility that it comes out the other side, and that's what it did. It came out the other side and tested that 20-day moving average. But look, notice this is very important, right? This is an inside bar that goes down, and then it pops up doing an inside bar. It actually, comes down, but does an inside bar reversal to the upside. That high here is higher than that high. Okay, so look, 314.39 is the high of this bar. This bar here is 314.38. Oh, is it not? No, interesting. So I know in the aftermarket data, it definitely took out that pivot high. So that's the pre-market data. You definitely took out. I think it's the aftermarket data. You definitely took out that high. So that would be very, very close to taking out that, because we know there's stops there. So it's very, 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 very common for this type of scenario for this thing to take out that pivot high and then maybe come back in again. So that's what happened on SPY. So on the SPY now, we want to be watching for is this, because the bears currently have it under control. So they got the outside bar now. Now you want to see, just like the VIX, on what side of the outside bar do they break? And then on the 4-hour chart, you have the mirror opposite of the VIX. You have this outside bar in down. Does the Momo continue, or do they extinguish that Momo? Here on the weekly chart, we want to see the opposite. We break it back above there, we're going back up to the highs. Okay, so that's the scenarios for the SPY. Again, mirror opposite of the VIX. Okay, so Qs now, let's run a little faster. Qs looking pretty strong. We had the outside bar on Friday, but the Qs did go to all-time highs recently. So not this past week, but maybe last week we were all-time highs. We're still hovering very, very close to that. So no big risks there yet. Here, this outside bar, the outside bar and down. We got an outside bar down this past week, but they bought it right back. And look, the hot nearly came back and created another outside week, but did not. So basically, we take out this week's high. You're going after that pivot and then going back to all-time highs again. That's the scenario I think is the most interesting one, especially for the SPY, to make some new highs or fresh highs, and then to watch, as I've been saying the last couple weeks, to see if the market internals actually confirm that movement or not. Otherwise, we're going to get a negative divergence between the market internals and actual price. Then that sets up a very, very interesting short for Q3. So there's your Qs there. Something to watch out for on the short term is here, as I mentioned earlier, the importance of understanding your levels, like the monthly opens and the weekly opens, the opening levels. Look at that test on Monday. All right, so that orange line is your monthly open. So anyone looking at the monthly chart, unless price breaks below here, it stays below there, it's going to look like a green month. And guess what the buyers did? They came down this level here, it gapped down on Monday. Look, they defended it aggressively. They bought it right back on that level, PAM, and then the rest of the week it just guns higher. Came very close once again to taking out those all-time highs until they ran a steam on Friday. Again, may have just been due to quadruple witching. Look, they pinned it. Where did it close? 244.24. So it's it is what it is. We'll see how it opens on Monday. Again, we want to see how price reacts to this outside day up, outside day down, or outside inside, or some variation of that, right? Where you go outside bar down, but if you start coming back through the range again, so it goes outside bar down and they buy it right back like they did this week, and that can turn into an outside day. So that's another scenario there. Okay, so that's it for the Qs here on the 4-hour chart. It did trigger a bit of a sell signal here on the 4-hour chart. It did go inside bar up and then broke down here on Friday afternoon, so did an inside bar reversal to the downside. But because all the time frames are pointing up right now, you got to underweight those signals, because the larger time frames are in full control. Green quarter, green month, green week. You're not going to overweight the shorter time frame signals. You really want to be looking for the wider time frames to reverse before you start getting aggressive with your shorts. Right now, again, just look at it. Does this month, with 1 week left, is it going to reverse? The only way this thing reverses is by literally taking out that month's low. So taking out May's low, because this month hasn't closed yet. So it'd have to turn to an outside bar. Had to come back all the way back through here again, take out that low before you see a monthly reversal. That's very, I think it's a low probability event that happens. This next week for the weekly chart, same thing. If to make it really ugly, the bears have to go outside bar down and turn this into next week into a down bar. So they, that would be a Momo down. So if this happens, if somehow this coming week it breaks below that low there, then that's aggressive, right? Because that's an outside bar down, and that's Momo down. So that'd be momentum on the downside. You definitely want to be paying attention to that, because if that happens, not only would that be price action wise Momo down, but also you break below that monthly open, and that's something you want to know because now you have a red month. Okay. So there's your cues. That's what you want to watch out for. Dow, same kind of picture as everything else. Got the outside bar on Friday. Still green month on the on DIA. Outside bar down on the weekly chart. So same thing again. We're looking to see how this outside bar down fares. Does the momentum continue? Momo down, or does it go Momo down back up again? That's a reversal signal, and they'll go after that pivot there. Okay. So same thing, same picture on Dow as it was the rest of the SPY. Here on Monday, you have your red dog reversal there on Monday. That means the gap down, they buy the gap back. Inside bar reversal pops up. Then here on Friday, they do a red dog reversal to the sell side. That means the gap up comes back into the gap, and then they cut it through the range. Once again, outside bar. So what's the next bar on that one there? There is a bit of short-term momentum there because the 4-hour chart is outside bar down. You got that Momo down. Once again, like I said, just in the last chart, you do not want to overweight that signal just because you have full time from alignment to the upside right now. Green quarter, green week, green month. So that's the bias is for that thing to resolve to the upside. If you do get a reversal signal, it pops back up here, like takes all that high, you definitely want to be chasing that to the upside. Okay, so Russell week this week was probably the weakest out of all the indices, but still green month, you got a green week, same scenario. So this is why I'm going faster here now. Pretty much all the charts look the same, with the exception that the bars are slightly different sizes, right? But the price patterns are all identical. So you pick your favorite, you pick your index of choice, whichever one you think is going to give the best results, whichever has more beta, or whichever one you feel more comfortable trading, and you go with that one. Personally, I like to go for the cues for the upside, and if I want to chase the downside or short the downside, I'll be shorting the Russell. So nothing much to say to the Russell, but because it's the exact same pattern, right? So here, again, the bars are slightly different because of the sizes, but the exact same principles going on. Red dog reversal on Monday. In this case here, they were so aggressive that they actually created an outside day on Monday. Then it goes outside bar up, so that's Momo up. They run out of steam. Okay, here on Friday, it looks like things that popped up on Friday. They went inside bar up, but unfortunately they ran out of steam, so it comes back to the range again, but not quite low enough to take out that and make an outside day. The low there's 139.81, 139.84, 3 cents away from making an outside day. Couldn't quite do it. You got that 20-day moving average right there. There's a bunch of moving averages right here. Look, 200-day, 8-day, 20-day, monthly open. All right, so same picture of the Russell. If the indices start to break down, look at the Russell to see if it breaks down first. So you want to see this thing create a Momo down situation on the weekly. Goes down, down. You break below this week's low, that's below the weekly open. Probably it'll be below the monthly open. So that'll be interesting. How about emerging markets? Actually, let's go TSX first. TSX, the whole story has been kind of getting a little better, but a little bit, it's kind of going nowhere. World did firm up a bit this week. So the TSX had basically the same looking chart as the rest of the North American indices. Green month, outside bar down on the weekly chart. So exact same price pattern. Just redrawing my levels here. And on the daily chart, same thing as the Russell, right? So gaps down, red dog reversal, creating an outside bar on that day, and then red dog reversal here on Friday. So a bit of selling to the downside now. Now watch to see what happens on Monday, because on the 2-day chart on TSX, you have this outside inside that popped up, but it came back in again. So if it comes back out the other side, that'll be an outside bar, inside bar reversal. If it breaks below there, okay, it comes back down through. So watch for that for TSX. Emerging markets have been very, very strong. Having a fine month so far, up close to 6% on for the month of June, with 1 week left. Big green week for the emerging markets. So that's not quite a reversal, because you went up the prior week, then you went down this week, but it's a green week. So good strength there by the buyers. They showed up. And here you have a bit of weakness on it to end the Friday because you had a double inside bar. That's how tight it was. 2 inside bars in a row. So it was a very quiet trading week for some of these indices. You saw already how tight things were because we're all trading within that big mother bar. And to be honest, it felt like summer trading. I know summer doesn't start until today. Actually, today's Saturday, the 20th, June the 20th. So happy first day of summer, by the way. And I kind of already felt like summer trading because on Wednesday, Thursday it was pretty quiet. It was pretty tight stuff. And on Friday things kind of opened up a bit, and they opened up high, but then they faded in, creating that red dog reversal. Same thing on EEM. So EEM, we're going to watch the same thing. We're just going to redraw our ranges. We want to see once again how that resolves and where we trade in relation to those opens. Okay, so there's your EEM, and on the 4-hour chart we have this setting up here. So what's going to happen on Monday? Look how tight it is, right? So that's your double inside day, these 2 sessions. Friday they open it up by creating an outside bar, but then it gets real tight again in the afternoon. So outside, inside. Now, which way does it break? Because that's going to be another, it's going to be more range expansion. So basically on Monday, you got to see how it breaks, which side it breaks on. And that's going to give you a lot of clues on which side is more aggressive or has more control, the buyers or the sellers. Bonds, TLT bonds. Coming up a little bit again. Looks like this monthly chart, we talked about it last week, is turning to a bullish hammer here now, showing a bit of momentum, right? They tapped at that broad information level that turned into support here, and they bought it back. So the bonds come back up again. 1 week left. Does it close like this next week? What does this bar look like next week for the month of June? Right now, that's very strong. That's a very momentum-based candle because they took it well off the lows here and showing a lot of strength. So inside bar down, but very, very green month so far. Okay. Weekly chart, very tight stuff. Look how tight that week was. Okay, so that's summer trading. Summer has begun already. That's how tight that week was. You're up a whopping 0.06% for the week. But you're trading above the monthly open. That's why the month is green. You're trading above that orange line right there. Okay, but it is an inside week, so we want to be watching here. Or how's that inside week break? This stuff, if it gets this gets repetitive, then that's good because that means you're getting it. So if you're following along here and you know where I'm going to go next, then the task for you is to do this, to begin to do this on your own, and begin to apply it to your own basket of stocks or assets. Personally, and I'll give some backstory here. I do this process. I record this process every single weekend. Share with you guys, but I actually do this process every single day. So this is my end of day process where I review all my major assets. I don't quite do a full one like I do with you guys here where I talk it all through. It takes me literally less than 15 minutes to do about a dozen assets, and I go through this process. So the job for you is, you identify a basket of stocks. This is what I always encourage the folks I coach to do, is you want to identify a basket of stocks or assets or or currencies or whatever you want to be tracking, and apply this process to your review of that basket, to the point where you can do it and you can remember the state of each one of those assets. You'll, for instance, you should just know, if you do it enough times, that the VIX is currently, inside month, had gone inside month down, and then it went outside month this past month. So you just know in your head, by memory, what state each one of those assets are in by time frame. If you do it long enough, you'll just have that mental model in your head, and you'll know how price across assets are trading in relation to one another, and that's very, very important. So, the other benefit of doing this process is that you'll have a good idea of what to do during the trading day. So once you have that mental model of what's moving and what relationship they have with one another, when price starts to move during the trading day, you're not going to be as transfixed with price, because you have a working model of these different stocks and these different assets. So you're going to be looking for opportunities. You're kind of, instead of chasing opportunities, you kind of already have an idea of what you want to see, and it allows you to be more prepared and more proactive versus reactive. So if you see that price is moving, is selling off, then in your based upon the basket of stocks that you're holding, you're going to have some go-to ones that you already know that are kind of setting up, and that you want to be jumping into those, if certain things occur, right? Versus just being at the mercy of the markets and letting prices kind of throw you around and dictate what you do that day, then you're just very, very reactive versus being responsive. So that's really the benefit of this process, and of having that basket. Again, the basket can be very small. It can be 6 to 10 stocks or assets, or it can and you can work your way up from there. All right. All right. So let's get back to the analysis. Inside week. So let's see how that breaks for TLT. One thing I do want to show on TLT, outside bar, right, to end the Friday. So that's a red dog reversal to the upside here. How far does it go? You got that monthly open right there. Let's see how we open up on where we open up on Monday. You got that quarterly red right now. So I don't know how far it's going to take things. You got the quarter still red, but you do have the outside inside, like we had on EM. To enter the Monday. So we're probably gonna have some sort of gap on Monday. We usually do, right? Like last week we had a gap here. So that's not Monday. Sorry, this is Monday here, right? So that's your gap, right? You had a gap here on Monday, right? So you always have some sort of over weekend gap on Monday. So which would we gap on Monday? That's gonna be the question. And then you want to see this price. If it gaps up, do they fade the gap and comes back in again? It's gonna come out the other side, or is it a gap and go? Right, and that's the scenarios you want to be having in your head. So TLT. Now let's go MGC micro futures or gold micro futures. There we are, and they are also even though it's kind of the markets are kind of rallying up. This past week was a bit soft. Well, actually no, this past week was actually quite decent, but it just had some kind of mixed days. Still ended the week green for across all the indices. But gold did make a comeback here. So the month here, it had gone inside month and down, excuse me. But look at the month now. Basically a doji, basically flat for the month. But they really fought all the way back. This was down here at one point. Remember that? Price was all the way down here. Now with 1 week left, this thing could actually turn quite green here now and begin to challenge this prior month's high. So right now, you want to see, with only 1 week left, can it actually turn outside bar? Because it already took out one side here. Takes out that side. It's going to be outside bar in the month. So this is the week. If you recall last week, I mentioned this. This is what was interesting. Outside, inside. Are you gonna break this inside week? Right? Are you gonna break it? And they did it. They took it until I think they did it on Wednesday, but price came back in again. So yes, let's take a look. Yeah. So here, no, they did it on Friday. Yeah. So Friday they busted through. So here's the prior week's high. Comes back down. Inside bar reversal here. Right. So is your inside bar reversal triggers on Thursday. They pull it back, but then they come back. They come strong again on Friday. Push it through once again. Who knows if this is just related to quadruple witching? But I personally took a position here on MGC, and to the long side. So full disclosure, and let's see where it goes. I'm willing to take that over the weekend risk, because we had a strong take there for MGC. But in retrospect, we hit that monthly open, so that's not great, because that's going to be hard for price to break above it. If it does, that's good for my trade. But if it doesn't, I won't be surprised, because that oftentimes is a strong level. So on the 4-hour chart, it did close above it. We'll see what happens there. So for what it's worth, I'm long micro gold futures. Okay, so how about Bitcoin? What's Bitcoin doing? Right, the Bitcoin's actually underperforming everything. So surprisingly, Bitcoin had a really strong start to the year, but now it's kind of petered out. It's kind of keeping its gains. It's still holding above 9,000, but not a lot much is going on. If my comments last week is, basically Bitcoin is on my do not trade list right now, because there's nothing going on for me. It was far more interesting things to be trading right now than Bitcoin. So I'm not wasting a lot of mental capital or financial capital or firepower and time in looking at cryptos. But that's on my back burner, and what I'm waiting for is for the quarter to end. So we've got 1 more week left, and I'm waiting for this pattern to finish. Look, outside, inside. It's an inside quarter, right? It stayed for 3 months inside this range, nearly 3 months now, right? So that I'm waiting for this quarter to end, because then we can get some more fireworks going into Q3, or at least the potential for fireworks, as we have the chance of breaking this inside quarter consolidation, and then get that range expansion again. But again, if you open up here in the quarter, somewhere in here, then how do you take out either side of that range? We'll talk more about that next week, but that's a sneak peek into what's going to happen there. So for now, it broke the upside on in June, but it's come back in, and now it's basically a go nowhere month. It's down minus 1.5%, and it's just nothing to write home about. Just going back and forth. The week, you do have a reversal that happened 2 weeks ago, right? You did break below that low, and it's continuing down now, but it's not really going far. Look, for the week itself, down 0.4%. So really tight stuff. If we draw the week back in again, this is how tight that week is. If the buyers can somehow break above this past week's high, the week's not done yet, but I'll just leave it there for now. Then it's the possibility for this thing to trade once again with full time from alignment. Because there's your monthly open, there's your quarterly. If you can break above this week's high, that'll be back on an upshot again to the upside. But again, I'm not expecting much because you have you're still trading inside quarter, 1 week left. So that's for me, Bitcoin will be a lot more interesting next week. Okay, so there's your BTC in the weekly chart. What else do I want to show in the weekly chart? Let's look at the 2-day chart here. Let's bring it up real fast. Went outside, inside, I believe. Yeah, here it is. Outside, inside, and down. Okay, so it is. This pattern's playing out. You do have some time from alignment. You're trading below the monthly open, below the quarterly. Monthly and weekly open, but you're still a very, very green quarter. So certainly the sellers are in control right now, but the trend is still up. So they can break it here, maybe take it down to there. So now you have some red time frames, but frankly, you're not going to change that quarter. It's still going to remain probably inside quarter with 1 week left. Okay, so that's your MGC. That's your BTC chart. And again, a lot more commentary on that next week. It's a lot more interesting because right now it's just very tight stuff. Look how tight that is. The past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 11 2-day bars. That's like 22 bars. Look how tight that is. Okay, like if I'll just draw this box here, you'll see how tight that range is. All right, so it's very, very tight stuff here for the past. This goes back. I can even be a little further than that. Since April, since the beginning of May. So you've had to get basically close to 3 months of nothing. That's called an inside quarter. All right, that's why the quarter looks like that, because it's tight stuff. All right, so don't want to overtrade that. All right, so that's the review of all the assets. Now let's do a quick review of some stocks to look at, some things to add to your watch list, and then we'll wrap things up by looking at the stars and dogs for the week. So let's look at some interesting names. I've been talking about Shop for the past several weeks. Man, what a move this thing has had. Again, outside, inside, and pow to the upside. We were going after that pivot there. I'm still long some Shop, and that's the pivot we took out this past week. So rips right back out there again, plus 18% in 1 week. Not a bad week for Shop into those all-time highs. Twilo, near the exact same chart. We had it outside, inside. We talked about this last week. And we took it out. That's what we were looking for, to take out that pivot and went to all-time highs. Right, so there's your Twilo, exact same trade again. And I was talking about it last week in the video or not, but I think I was last week's video. I talked about this already, about how this week here started the breakout, right? So it took out that pivot high, and because Twilo did not move this week, like that week when it broke out, and it came back in, it falls off a lot of people's watch lists, right? And people forget about Twilo being a good candidate until this week shows up, and then they have to chase it as it comes back to the range again. So this pattern happens a lot, where the first week itself that breaks above the prior week's high, there's no actual follow through, and the second week gets the follow through. I'm noticing on that with a lot of charts. Okay, so here's some good ones here. Nectar looks interesting. Outside, inside, and down this past week, it went outside bar, so a lot of volatility here. So that means people got chopped up. Now, which week does this thing break? Because then you have the potential for this thing to go a lot higher. Because on the monthly chart, inside month, up, inside month, right? So you're part of this inside break up here now. Expected that pivot high to get taken out. Nectar. Sale. This is one of those again that a lot of shorts got got run over. So inside bar, outside bar, and then people broke down at the beginning of the week here. But look at that bar. Literally, they bought it from exactly where it opened. It opened at 22.10. That's the low of the week. So they basically were in control for most of the week. The buyers were anyways, and they created a double outside bar. You like that because that means there's volatility in the name now. Expect more range expansion if it can clear the ranges. Clears the ranges, yeah. This thing people have gotten chopped up. That means they got either taken out at the bottom, or they got taken out at the top if you were long or short. And there was a battleground there, and now whoever to the victor go the spoils. So whichever way this thing continues to go, it's going to expand. It's going to continue because you had that chop, and now if people want to jump on the ride, they're going to have to chase. Netflix. This one looks a lot like Twilo and Shop. Here, same sort of pattern. Not, it's going to. I think it's going back to all-time highs once again. Outside bar down. Remember that little scare from Netflix a few weeks ago now. This bar here breaks above that bar, right? So that's what I'm talking about when I was saying there's no follow through. So people, this week here, they try to double gun it again, right? So they try it again, it fails, and it just falls off people's watch list because it tries, the price tries to break out twice, it doesn't work. Maybe people get stopped out by trying to break out for there, and then it finally works. So people, Netflix falls off their radar. Then when it finally works at the chase, and now they're going after that pivot right there. Okay, there's your Netflix. Looking for some good setups there. Amron, another interesting one. Inside, outside, inside. Where's the brick next? What's the next one? So that looks interesting there because on the monthly chart, inside. Maybe it's he has to wait for another week because it's already inside bar down. This could be an inside bar reversal to the upside in July. In July. So here I'm just going to change this color. Sorry, I don't want to change this color here. This is a monthly level, so I'm going to change it orange. So for now, the month isn't closed yet, so I'm not going to draw it there, but I just want to get that ready for next week. So Amron, there you go. 5, here's a good one. Outside, inside. All right, so you got a little bit more range. It's already quite elevated, but if you look at the monthly chart, it's a continuation of this inside month. Inside month, up, right, and you still have some pivots to go after. So 5 has a 5 below. Has some potential there if it can break above that range, right? So when I say outside inside, I want to see the break that inside bar there in either direction, ideally to the upside to get that time frame alignment. Okay, so that's a weekly level, so I draw those in purple. Okay, and next one, CSIQ. So Canadian Solar, same thing. Outside inside, how's that one break? Interesting one there. Inside month, up. And that pivot there is looking really juicy. That one right there. 25.35. Goog, another outside inside, that's looking strong. Goog, I'm surprised, I would not be surprised whatsoever for Goog to hit all-time highs at this point. They've kind of been lagging out of all the FANG names. So Goog could be picking up here now. Outside inside on the weekly chart, look at that. That pivot right there, outside bar. Look, Google's going after that pivot right there, all-time highs. 15.32.11. CGC, marijuana names, also lagging. Outside, inside, right? So people got chopped up here. Outside bar, inside bar. Now, which way do you break that, right? So far, look at this pattern. Outside and up, comes back in. People lose focus, right? This is what I'm talking about. It fails to follow through, but if it starts to go now, people are going to chase. So CGC could be setting up for something good there. And Rexer. So Rexer, smaller name. So Industrial Realty, these guys have been beat up pretty badly. But here, outside, inside on the quarter, on the week, excuse me. And on the monthly chart, looks interesting as well. Monthly chart here, inside, double inside, breaks to the upside. So this thing already triggers, right? But there's no follow through, and that's what you like because these names, like I've been saying, a lot of these names they don't have follow through. They fall through in the subsequent bars, and people have to chase those. Okay, so let's talk about stars and dogs now. That's it for the watch list names. And again, there's so many names out there right now. It's the markets are ripping so much to the upside. It's you pretty much want to just look for any name where you had an outside bar and down, right? There's literally dozens of them. Like Netflix here, it didn't happen this past week, but happened a few weeks ago. Anything that looks like this, outside bar down, if it breaks back above that high, they're gonna gun after that level there. Especially if you have time frame alignment. If you're trading above the weekly open and monthly open, then the bias is to the upside to take out the prior outside bar high. You can, if you do a scan for that, you search for your basket through that, you're gonna literally find dozens of names like that. I just picked the ones that I like to watch, and I think have good liquidity. Okay, so let's do our stars and dogs now. Stars, literally anything that was Chinese related this week was flying. So I myself was in IQ. I think I brought it up, a few of these videos already. IQ, I was a big gap up. I was lucky to be long as of the prior week because it was what? It was outside inside of the week. All right, on IQ there a few weeks back. On the month, it was inside month and up. So yeah, IQ getting those highs was a good big 25% pop there on Monday. I'm not going to go through all the Chinese ADRs because it's just, there are literally, a dozen of them. Billy, look at the trend of that one. Billy was very strong. YY strong. Bizan was strong. You can just name them. Huya, Wuba, they were all, look at the weeks they were having. They were going, they're gunning right in the highs, and Wuba. Okay, now Wix, also a good name this past week. Wix here, all-time highs. Okay, so resell e-commerce, Wix going to all-time highs. That's just like shop. You look at Etsy, same thing, and pins doing strong, right? So coming back, maybe hitting back those all-time highs. And the one name that was really gunning, and I missed this one personally, Spotify. Wow, all-time highs on Spotify. What a huge move the last 2 days of the trading week. So it had a big gap. They had a big day here on that was Wednesday. Closed above the prior highs. Look at that. Look at that strength on that day. The volume picks up. And then look on Friday. Pow. Sorry, this is Wednesday. This is Thursday. And on Friday, they had people just took profits because this thing was ripping. It was up, 12% on Thursday. I think it was up another close to 10% on Friday before they sold it off a bit. Let's talk about the dogs. There aren't that many. You have to look really hard to find ones that are not working well and not trending well. So I'll talk ones that are not trending well. GBTC. So Bitcoin, as we talked about already, this thing is just not trending well, or it was slightly negative, and so there, the Bitcoin, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Okay, going down 4 negative sessions in a row. Riot, so that's a blockchain play as well. They're a miner. Again, very very red week for Riot. And well, not red week, but because basically this just basically left where just ended up where it left off, or closed where it began, but had an outside day on Friday. Space, so Space, Virgin Galactic, not picking up any steam. The trend is just there is no trend here. It's consolidation. So this the only reason I'm calling it dogs is it's just not going anywhere. You have some names that are going to all-time highs. This thing here doing a lot of nothing. So you do not want to be sitting there and wasting your capital sitting in a name like that. Okay, when things are going to all-time highs and really moving. So Space doing a lot of nothing. And one more name to end things, and let's end it with Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, so Dunkin', DNKN. You can see this is going nowhere, right? So this is chop. When you have this much stuff, like the bars are overlapping like this, it's a whole lot of nothing. And just by looking at the charts, you can just see, it's just very, very choppy. And we look at the higher time frames, you can pretty much guarantee that you're trading inside of a prior range, right? So you're trading inside of prior ranges with the weekly chart there. Yeah, you tried to go outside bar down, couldn't do it. But you're trading above the quarterly, above the weekly, but below the monthly. So that creates that chop condition that I alluded to earlier. So that's the issue there when you have that mixed time frame alignment. Above the month, above the week, but yeah, very, very choppy stuff. So that's a wrap for this week's video. As always, I appreciate any questions or any positive comments. You can leave those in the comment section on YouTube, or head over to the trading blog, the blog at thetradingedge.org, where you can either leave comments or sign up for my weekly newsletter, so you can get notified either through YouTube by clicking on that big subscribe button, or you can go to my website, sign up for the newsletter, get the weekly video delivered to your inbox with some trading perspectives I share every single weekend. As always, if you like these videos, as I said already, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to share it with your friends or colleagues, I appreciate that as well. Once again, I want to wish you a good trading week and the trading month of June strong this coming week, and we will see you again next week on the weekly video. Have a great week, stay strong, and we'll see you next weekend.